Hey, Gen Max, welcome back to Puerto Vallarta. I'm very excited to be here in the Versailles neighborhood with the most magical couple in Puerto Vallarta. And I'm going to explain, or actually I'm going to have them explain what is so magical and what our connection is. Let's meet these guys. We're going to hear about their lives here in Versailles, why they chose Puerto Vallarta, all that kind of good stuff coming up in this interview. So let's go ahead and meet Shannon and Abbey.
Hi, I'm Abbey.
I'm Shannon, and we just moved to Mexico in June of 2025, and we are loving it here. Always wanted to move to Mexico when we're finally able to make it happen.
So these guys aren't retired, maybe semi-retired / running their own business. So let's hear a little bit about what, like before they came to Mexico, which wasn't that many months ago, what they were doing and why Mexico was calling their names.
Work-wise, I have had a Disney-related travel business since 2012, hence the shirt. That's the magical connection. And I can work from anywhere, but Abby's job situation had changed.
Yeah, so I was working for public safety for almost 20 years, and we decided it was time to move and make this big jump. So I did that, and so that's the semi-retired, but now I am happily a freelance contractor for different communication outlets for social media and other platforms.
So what was drawing you guys to Mexico?
So prior to moving to Mexico, we had both been to many cities in Mexico. She had been to Puerto Vallarta a couple of times. I had never been, but we've been all over Mexico and just really were drawn to the culture. Mexico City happens to be my favorite, one of my very favorite cities in the world. And so it was kind of a no-brainer to have easy proximity to the States when we need to get back, but also a culture that we really love. And then it was just really a matter of narrowing it down to which city did we want to move to.
Originally, she wanted to move to Mexico City, and I'd never been there, and I'm really wanting to go. So hopefully soon we'll be able to make that journey. But due to my vascular disease and the elevation of Mexico City, that wasn't going to be a really good idea health-wise for us. So she surprised me one day, and she's like, "What if we move to a beach city?" And I was like, "I am totally fine with that because I love the beaches, I love ocean, I love water, I love boats, I'm obsessed with it." So I was very, very excited. And then she picked out Puerto Vallarta based on research of safety and best places to live as expats of America, but immigrants in Mexico.
So sorry to break into the video here, but I wanted to let you know that I do consulting calls. So if you want to spend 25 minutes on a Zoom call with me, that is possible. There's a link down below in the description that you can use to book one of those calls with me. I look forward to chatting with you. Now back to the video. So Shannon is definitely the planner. That's what her business is about planning trips to Disney World. But let's hear her take on planning a trip to Mexico and planning a move to Mexico.
So once we decided we need to be at sea level, which is beach towns, we just really need to narrow it down. And we use channels like this one and the Mexico Relocation Guide, among others, to help us figure out the best fit. And ultimately, a few different factors led us to Puerto Vallarta. One was it's a really easy transition when you speak English, but you want to learn Spanish because there's lots of resources here for English speakers. It's also a big touristy destination, so there's easy flights in and out for work purposes and other our personal travel. And it's also very LGBT friendly, so that worked well for us. So we really narrowed it down to Puerto Vallarta fairly easily, and then it was about where we were going to live in the town. This town is very hilly, and most neighborhoods are going to be, a lot of up and down. And I have asthma, which makes it harder for me to do those climbs. And so we were able to narrow it down to Versailles, in part because it's quiet. The music is really adding to the ambiance here outside, isn't it? And also it's quiet. So we're not in the romantic zone, which is where most of the action is. We're in usually a very quiet space, and it's flat. So we have been very happy with Versailles, and we did a lot of that research online before we even got here.
So I have a few interviews coming from this neighborhood. I just left Daniel and Lauren's house. I'm going to be going to Lawrence's bar, The Office. So it really is kind of a small little world here. And speaking of small worlds, I want to give a shout out to my niece, Maria, because she's the one who connected us. She, of course, is a great subscriber to this channel and a subscriber to their channel, and also a Patreon or a patron of Shannon's. So thank you, Maria, for making this connection and making this connect here. So, but let's continue with the, once they've chosen Puerto Vallarta and then they chose Versailles, how did they find this particular place, this apartment or this condo? Because we're going to take a little tour around.
We use one of the realtors from their Mexico relocation guide. And I think it's really important to use resources that have been vetted, because the licensing requirements are kind of all over the board. So we were able to set up an appointment with her, and she set up different viewings of spaces. And we had told her our budget and that we probably want to live in Versailles. And she had brought us here, which is ironically owned by another person that you were interviewing. So talk about being a small world.
I just want to sing It's a Small World After All. Come on, sing it with me. No, I'm not going to. It would be bad. And it would probably be like YouTube. No, YouTube would never recognize my voice singing It's a Small World. So I don't think we have a problem there. But also a Mexico relocation guide. If you are interested in moving to Mexico, it is an amazing resource, and they are a partner of mine. So if you go to Mexico relocation guide, use the link down below. I can't remember the exact link. So use the link down below, and that will give me kind of credit. She buys me some margaritas every time you guys buy the guide. So thank you for supporting the channel. But let's get back to, speaking of channels, let's hear a little bit about Shabbey Ever After, and also about Shannon's Disney business.
So we started our own Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel called Shabbey Ever After, which is our name combined, Shannon and Abbey, so not too shabby. And the Ever After comes in with the Disney connection that we have for her business. And so as a graphic designer, I was like, okay, this can work, and I created the name and the logo. And our mission with it is to help people. It's like public educators for people going through the experience at the time that we went through the experience. Different steps. One of our videos is, 9 steps of moving to Mexico in 3 months, and just really helping people without telling them they need to do this, but also being, setting boundaries to be like, well, this worked for us. It may not work for you, but whatever, this might be able to give you some guidelines or something like that. So it's our way of communicating to others that, you can do it too if you want to. Not everything, your family situation may be different, or whatever the situation may be in your personal life, but you can definitely do it. And as long as we can help you get there with maybe a few things that we have educated you about, that's our goal, is to try to make it as positive and happy for you, and try to relieve that stress that can come with that. Because making a move like this is, monumental in someone's life, is moving to another country. So, and we understand that, and we have a lot of empathy for folks that are dealing with that, because it's not just the physicalities of doing it, but it's also a mental toll that takes on too, that I know a lot of people don't share and everything, but it's okay to say, you know what, sometimes I'm struggling, with the transition, and that is totally okay. It's a new environment, but there are so many people that we have met that have really helped make this experience and this move fabulous for us, and we're making some really good lifelong friends here.
I love that, because yes, there are days that are a struggle in Mexico. It's just part of the process. Things happen at a slower pace. That's often where the struggle comes in. Just dealing with different cultures, things like that. I think it's okay to not have the perfect life. And I know I try to share some of those imperfections. For those of you who watch the channel, think Roomba. Otherwise, it is a pretty magical life down here, but not always perfect. But let's switch over to some more magic, and we're going to hear about Shannon's business, because if you're a Disney fan, I used to work for Disney when I was in college, so I was in the college program. Love it. And my niece Maria is there. She's actually heading off to a Disney's Hawaiian resort. Shannon can tell us about that. I didn't even know that existed until yesterday. But let's hear a little bit about what her business is, because I think it's really cool.
The Disney resort in Hawaii is called Aulani. And we actually got married in Hawaii, but not at Aulani. But anyway, that's where Maria is going. So my Disney business is called WDW Prep School. So WDW is Walt Disney World Prep School. And I have had it since 2012. And I really am into teaching people how to plan trips, because it's hard. I've been all over the world, And Disney World is one of the hardest trips to plan. It's very competitive, lots of information, and I tend to be very analytical. So there's a lot of spreadsheets, there's a lot of graphics, and those are my people. I like this more analytical people, and I feel like that didn't exist. So I kind of created the materials that I wanted to have for my own trips, and have been doing it for a very long time. There's a lot of parallels between that and planning a trip that moved to Mexico, because there's a lot of research and there's a lot of magical elements, and there's also a lot of things to prepare yourself for that could be difficult. And it feels very familiar to me in many ways.
And I can say the guide, even though I am not a member and haven't seen Shannon's website, I have been a beneficiary because of my niece, Maria, has taken, we've gone to Disney with her. She goes like at least a couple times a year. But it's been really helpful because she's like, oh yeah, the board over here will tell us when the times are, and fast passes, which probably isn't even a thing anymore. That was back in the day. But how that whole system works is definitely complicated, and moving to Mexico can be a little bit complicated too. So one of the things, I just did an interview with Daniel and Lauren, and we talked a lot about living full time in an area with so many tourists. So I just want to get these guys' take on that. So let's hear what it's like to be living like a local where there's so many tourists.
So coming to a new country and a new town, and starting off as a tourist, I'm going to say that the first month, you want to go do everything. You want to go to the beach, do all of that jazz, which I think is true for any new city or any new place that you can move to. You just want to go tourist it up and everything. But for us, after a while, we were saying to ourselves, I think it's best that we try not to live as tourists, because then, this is our everyday life. This is where we live. So, and also there's a big financial factor that comes to that. You can't for us, we just can't live like tourists every day and go to everything. We love supporting local theater, arts, and things like that. There's so many amazing, talented people here in Puerto Vallarta, and we love to support them. But there's a reality check of, all right, what's a reasonable amount to spend on outings in a month here in Puerto Vallarta?
AKA, we were blowing our budget.
We were blowing our budget.
There's too much going on. So I think we really narrowed it down to like twice a week.
Yeah, we got a little strict with ourselves, which is good. We do belong to some of the Facebook groups, the local Facebook groups here in Puerto Vallarta. When we first moved here, they're very helpful. I do want to say, and this is my own opinion, and it's fine with whatever anybody else decides, and I'm not saying that anything in the pages are wrong or anything, but I think for me, and I will say for Shannon, there's this element of learning things for yourself. Teach yourself, experience things for yourself. It's helpful to get suggestions from people, but also I would take people's experiences with a very, almost with a grain of salt, not just kind of put it in your back pocket. I always call it back pocket information, because their experience is going to be different than your experience. And so they might give you a helpful hint, like, well, this happened to me, so you shouldn't do that. Okay, well, my experience might be different. Now, if it's something that's, that's damaging to property or your livelihood, well, sure, that's a no. But if it's something that, well, I wanted to try that, so maybe I should go have my own experience and see what happens. I would definitely use the groups as a new resident as guidelines, but have your own experience. Dive into your own thing and find out what works for you and your partner and or your family.
I mentioned that when we were deciding where to live, that I liked the blend of tourists and locals here, because that meant there's a lot of activities for the tourists, but also a really strong local community. Mm-hmm. But an interesting element to that is how much they flow together. So whether it's Facebook groups or subreddits or whatever, the communities are such a blend of tourists and locals that something I've never seen before. And so that has been an interesting adjustment for us. Yeah. I wanted to also mention that we moved here in the slow season. Yeah. And that is a good idea, I think, just to kind of get your footing, meet the people who are here full time, if you're full time, and we got to meet people, the businesses got to know us, and then all of the snowbirds and tourists started to show up, and we felt like, oh, we already know what we're doing. The businesses know us, we know how to do things, and even though we're very much enjoying the weather now in high season, we're actually looking forward to the slow season because we know how nice that can be too.
Well, disclaimer, we moved here from Texas. So I know people watching this will be like, oh my gosh, June, that is so hot. Yeah, we just went from hot to hot. So it was very easy for us to get used to the weather here because we moved right from Texas. So no problem.
So one of the things I want to know about is, getting back to a little bit of that tourist town and living here full time is meeting people, specifically a little bit of meeting people who are Gen X or just meeting people in general who are here more often than they're not here, I guess.
Because we're new, anytime you move somewhere new, you want to meet new people. So we've had to figure out different ways to meet people. But one of the things that's been interesting is the sadness with meeting people that aren't here to stay. You say goodbye to people a lot, but there are a lot of people that are here full time. So we've had multiple ways of meeting people, and everywhere we go, we see people that we know. So in a lot of ways, it feels like a small town. One of them is that she was already a member of Things in the United States that transferred here.
Yeah, so I am a Rotary member. And I've been a Rotary member now for 5 years. And I started my Rotary membership in Fort Worth at the Fort Worth Rotary Club. And once you're already a member, as long as your dues are paid up, you can just transfer to another Rotary Club with a letter of recommendation from your home club to the club that you're transferring. And if they're super with that, then they just allow you in, which of course Puerto Vallarta was 100% okay with that. So yes, Rotary is, for those that don't know what that is, it is Rotary International. It's an international organization that helps network people, leaders in your community. Every town in the world has a Rotary club. Some are very, very small with maybe 10 members, and some are humongous, like the city of Fort Worth has 300 members. So our membership here in Puerto Vallarta has a board of amazing people. The gentleman who owns Andales is on our board. He is a very nice man. And we have probably on the off season, we have maybe about 30 members, I had to guess. This is just an estimate. But we have several people that come for the winter months down here that are from Canada and different states in the United States that come and they help out and give to the community and do a lot of projects that we have. For example, every Monday we feed children and families with donation of food from Andale's restaurant in the Romantic Zone. And also we're very big on providing wheelchairs to those in need in the community of Puerto Vallarta. So we get a lot of sponsorships from not only here in Puerto Vallarta and in Mexico, but also in America and Canada. So we meet every Thursday at the Marriott in the Marina at 9 a.m. So being a Rotary member is just very fulfilling for people that want to just give back to the community. And I help the club by doing their social media. So you can find our Facebook page, Rotary Club, the Rotary Club of Puerto Vallarta Sur. And that's our Facebook page. And if you're interested in joining, you can just send us a message on there and you'll get me.
Okay, in addition to the people that she's met through Rotary, Facebook groups are a really good way to meet people, both the local, Puerto Vallarta groups, but also the Mexico Relocation Guide Facebook group. We've met up with and become friends with people that we met through there, but also we hired a local tour guide. Within a few days of moving here, we went out on a tour just so we could see all of the colonias and get a feel for the land. And then she became a friend. And so we just keep, meeting people in different ways and accruing people as we go that are in a similar boat and that we, eventually go on to do more things with.
And me, I'm such a social butterfly that I enjoy just walking. So I'll take our dog Stevie Nicks out for walks. And I started having a relationship with a lot of the business owners. There's a great juice room down the street here on Francia Street called the Juice Room. And
they're locals.
And they're locals. And it's mother and daughter who are always there. And they're so sweet and nice. And I go there just about every single day. And they help me with my Spanish because I learn better by immersing myself in the community and the culture and learning Spanish that way. I'll say I'm not really big on school, so even since I was a little kid. So I love actually going out in the community and learning Spanish. But we have gone to a Spanish school here in Versailles.
That's actually a great way to meet people too, because if people are there learning Spanish, there's a good chance you are in a similar boat and might have some things in common.
So Shannon just reminded me when she talked about having people leave when you create a friendship and then they leave. And so this just so reminded me because we're thinking about Disney. I'm going to tell you a little quick story. And that is when I was in the college program, and it was like a 3 or 4 month program or something like that. And it is the most amazing thing. If you've got kids in college, send them to the college program. They might have the dumbest job ever, but they will have the most fun. It will be the most meaningful summer that they spend. But I can remember the last night we were out, all of us were out at Pleasure Island, which existed back then. I'm dating myself. And it was the last dance of the night. And they were playing the song Last Dance. And all of us were crying because it was the last time we were going to see each other. And the next day we were all heading back. And it was the closest friendships you could make in just a few months. It was just amazing and just an amazing time. But every time I hear that song Last Dance, I go right back there to the dance floor in Pleasure Island in the 70s club. So that's just a quick aside. Let's go back to today here in Versailles in Puerto Vallarta, and let's get a tour of where these guys are living. And they also said that they would share what their rent is.
So before we moved to Puerto Vallarta and Versailles specifically, we had been looking at condo rentals online because that's what mostly is available when you look up the rentals. And so that's what we had told our agent that we were interested in. And then we were surprised when she showed us this place, which is a townhome.
We would love to take you on a tour. Let's go. You walk in the front door, and immediate left is a guest bathroom with a shower. And we actually, a lot of the neighbors, we all kind of just use it somewhat as storage. So we put our beach chairs in there, and that way we can rinse them off. So it's really, really handy. And then you continue, and the dining room is to your immediate right, and then also the kitchen to your left. And then you go right out to our washroom area and plunge pool area, complete with waterfall and our little flamingo floating in the pool, Ringo Jr. and Ringo the Flamingo, I should say. And we have our laundry and anything we need here, we keep on our shelves and everything. And come back in, and you can go into the living room, which is right around the corner from the front door. And it's a nice cozy space, and we get plenty of light in here, and we really enjoy hanging out in here. And we actually will relax and do our remote work from here. And going up the stairs, this is a three-story townhome. And going up the stairs, right to the right is the first guest room. And we use this as Shannon's dressing room area. So she has her own dressing room so that she can utilize all these beautiful built-in closets and drawers. So this is her room. Also, I dubbed it my Western Illinois University room because the purple and everything. So I am a Western Illinois University alumni. And then coming out of there, if we go ahead and continue in the guest rooms, right to the right, go to the right from this guest room, we go into the next one, which I dubbed the Chicago Bears room. Yes, I'm from Illinois. This is happening. Yes, I know. We almost had it this year. Let's not get into it. I'll get sad. So this is our Chicago Bears room with the orange and blue and everything. So, and I've had that Chicago Bear sitting on the bed since I was 5. So leaving that room, we have a guest bathroom right here to the right. And then we have some storage in our storage closet. And then you come around the corner right before you go up to the stairs to the 3rd floor is going to be the primary bedroom with an ensuite bathroom and a little Juliet balcony, which is so lovely to open up in the morning with the cool breeze at this time of year. And our dog, Stevie Nicks, loves to go out there and pop her head out and look at the cat that lives next door while that cat sits on their Juliet balcony.
So 2nd floor bedrooms.
2nd floor bedrooms, yes. So going up to the 3rd floor, you go right, as you climb the stairs, you go right into our rooftop patio. We love sitting out here in the evening. We recommend bug spray, even though we're somewhat higher up, they will come and eat you. So we sit up here, listen to music, and just hang out, and it's really, really nice and relaxing. And it is covered, so when it does rain, we can still sit out here also, which is nice. And coming back in, and this room up here to the left is our office studio space. So we do our arts in here. We do a lot of, Shannon records a lot of her podcasts and everything. Since it's so high up, it's lovely because it's away from a lot of the noises and disruptions that she may have when she needs to record her videos. And so it just works out. It's a lovely space, and we really enjoy having all this space. And every room, as you could tell, has all of these nice built-in closets and drawers and everything. So just a lot of places to put storage and to basically hide all of our junk.
One of the, we like having this space, but most people have condos, and we have seen the beauty of the condos in some ways because so many people hurt themselves on the uneven pavement and the cobblestones. And so they end up benefiting from the elevators and things that take in their condos. And we have stairs that go all the way up. So we had to really evaluate our living situation and say, okay, what happens to us? And we are really grateful for a first floor that we could sleep in the living room and there's a full shower, but it was something to think about.
If we break our leg.
Injuries are really common.
Yeah, if you've seen the interview with Daniel and Lauren, we did talk about gringo traps, which are ways that gringos do get themselves hurt here. So if you are walking, don't be on your cell phone while you're walking here. No looking down at your cell phone screen. Look at the ground because sidewalks here a little bit different than sidewalks in the United States or Canada. Well, y'all know that I like to be sure to include a tip or two for you before we wrap up the video. So let's hear what these guys have for tips.
All right. So my tip would be to, when you move here, I would change banks if you are not already Charles Schwab member of their bank. That bank is absolutely phenomenal. Best customer service, great security, and also they reimburse you for your ATM fees. So for our rent, every month, I go and ATM mule myself to get all the rent money for the month. And Charles Schwab has been absolutely fantastic with working with my account. And on those certain days, you can just call and be like, hey, I need to make a big withdrawal. That way you're not going to 5 or 6 ATMs. So you can just call them. Their customer service is amazing. And also they have prevented so much fraudulent activity on our bank account, which I was blown away. And they call you and they message you and they'll even say like, oh, if you think this might be fraudulent of us calling you, here's another number and you can verify that. So they are so thorough in their security. So I highly recommend that, especially with the ATM fees. You're going to want that money back because it's going to add up here. So Charles Schwab.
That was a big adjustment for us, coming from a credit card based life to being a cash based life.
I have to say, though, you might much money I've found on the street now since it's a cash-based.
I know, I have two. Yeah, it's great.
Since it's a cash-based environment, you should not only look down so you don't trip or fall into a hole, but also since everybody uses cash around here, I've gotten lucky a few days and I found a few pesos, like 500 pesos, 200 pesos here and there. So you never know what you might find, a little treasure tucked in some grass blades or something like that.
Well, we were talking about meeting people and, making friends. And I do think that if you're a couple and one of you is much more extroverted, that really benefits the one that's a little less extroverted. And so, but if that's not your situation, you're going to have to be a lot more intentional about getting out and about and meeting new people.
Well, I don't know if Kat would recognize that I am such a benefit to her as the extrovert in the family. But I can definitely say, especially having this YouTube channel, it's a great way to meet people, a great way to know a lot of people. Being an extrovert definitely helps. And if you're not, you have to be intentional about getting out there, get on the pickleball court, get out there and do stuff in a group environment. Okay, I almost forgot to add in how much they pay for rent. So let's get that really quick.
Our rent is 36,000 pesos per month. Our original budget was 30,000 pesos per month. So I was a little surprised when we were being shown it, but it includes 2 visits from a housekeeper per month, a water filtration system, so we don't have to buy water like most people do. And it has 2 fiber internet connections. So if you add those up, it really keeps us pretty much in budget.
And a pool guy to clean our pool. And a little front yard for our doggy Stevie Nicks.
And a gardener.
I do have more videos for you, though, from Puerto Vallarta down here. Also, some video that YouTube has chosen that's perfect just for you up here. So from the Versailles neighborhood of Puerto Vallarta, wish you were here. Hasta luego.